Yeah. Hello friends, welcome back. So before we begin with the contents of today's session, just we will have the recap of the last session. So in the last lecture we have seen what is signal. So signal is basically when we convert information into the electrical form, so we call it as signal, and this electrical signal is suitable for the further processing. Then depending on the nature of this signal, it has got two types: analog signal and digital signal. Then we have seen analog signals are basically the signals which has got the amplitude continuously varying with respect to time, and the branch of electronics engineering which processes analog signals, we call it as analog electronics, and the electronic circuit which processes analog signals, we call it as analog circuit. And one of the analog circuit which is used in various applications and which we are going to study in depth is the operational amplifier, op-amp. So we have seen op-amp is an amplifier which can perform mathematical operations. Its technical definition is op-amp is a very high gain direct coupled voltage amplifier which has got very high input resistance, very low output resistance. Then we have seen to implement this operational amplifier, the basic building block which is required is the difference amplifier. So how we can get the difference amplifier, that we have seen, and then we saw the block diagram of operational amplifier, which basically contains four stages. First stage is the input stage, last stage is the output stage, and after the input stage we have the intermediate stage, and after that we have the level shifting stage. Now the next important point is this block diagram of op-amp. When we implement it in the form of the circuit, it becomes a quite big circuit, and always when we represent this op-amp, we can't represent it even though means in the form of its block diagram. So always as we have seen for the diode or the transistor, for the op-amp also we use the schematic symbol. So you can see here this is the symbol which is used for the op-amp, a triangle which has got two input terminals, which we have already seen in the block diagram. So one is the inverting input, another one is the non-inverting input. Let us say the potential at the non-inverting input is V1 volts and at the inverting input is V2 volts, and we have the output terminal with this VO. So these are the three important terminals. So this is the simple schematic symbol. If you want to represent some more details, this is the another symbol which is used, and in this only the difference is we are representing this plus VCC and minus VE. So this is the another schematic symbol which is shown. So sometimes in this IC number is also written, for example this IC 741. So this is also written sometimes in the symbol. So like this is the schematic symbol of the op-amps, and this we will be using henceforth whenever we are using op-amp in an electronic circuit. Yeah. Next, then how to implement this block diagram? We have seen, for example, in the block diagram, the first is the input stage. So input stage, in that input stage again we have the multiple stages to get the high gain, but the first stage is dual input balanced output differential amplifier, and we have seen to implement this dual input balanced output differential amplifier we require two transistors, we require three resistors, we require plus VCC and minus VE supply. So this is for the one stage. Okay. Then if you have multiple stages, so every stage will require the similar components. So when we think of the entire electronic circuit implemented, where all the four blocks are implemented by using the various electronic components, then it will become a quite big circuit. Now, when we are actually practically implementing these circuits, there are two ways to implement. So, if you use the discrete components and if you connect them together to form the circuit, it is known as discrete circuit. Or if in place of using discrete components, if you fabricate those components on a single means semiconductor chip, a piece of semiconductor material, then such circuits are known as integrated circuits. Now see, discrete circuits, they have got lot many drawbacks. If you go for implementation of the circuit by using discrete components, it has got lot many drawbacks. You have to interconnect so many components. So if one of the connection, if it is not connected properly, then the circuit may not work properly. Size of the circuit becomes bulky, power consumption becomes more, so the reliability of the circuit is less. So to avoid all these drawbacks, mostly complicated circuits, they are implemented by using the integrated circuits. So what is integrated circuit? So the integrated circuit means what? The circuits in which all the components are fabricated on tiny chip, a small flat piece of semiconductor material, are known as integrated circuits. So all of you know these integrated circuits, they have lot many advantages. Like for example, see, we are staying in India, so we say that if we all Indians are integrated together, then our India will prosper better. So in the same way, in case of integrated circuits also, if you implement the components integrated together on a small chip, then we get lot many advantages. So these ICs, they permit miniaturization and they give superior performance, which is not possible with the discrete circuits. And what are the advantages? As I just told you, small size, low power consumption, lightweight, high reliability, no temperature drift problems, superior performance, low cost due to mass production, and it simplifies the complex system design. So for these operational amplifiers also, they are implemented by using integrated circuits and they are available in the form of the ICs. So due to the above advantages of ICs, they have become a vital part of the modern electronic circuit design, and they are used in computers, mobiles, automobile industry, home appliances, communication systems, then control systems and whatnot. There are, list is quite long. As far as our op-amp is concerned, the most popular general purpose op-amp integrated circuit is IC741, which was first introduced by Fairchild Semiconductor in 1968. Now this IC741, it is available in the different types of packages, but the one of the package which is mostly used is mini DIP, which is a 8-pin IC package. And all of you, you can see here, this is the pin diagram of this IC741. So in this IC, so you can see it has got 8 pins, this first diagram. So in this, yeah, so this is the first diagram. Now this is the pin number 1, 2, 3, 4, like this we can see, and this is pin number 8. So pin number 1 is the negative offset null input, this is inverting input, this is non-inverting input, this is minus VCC, this is positive offset null input, this is the output terminal, this is plus VE plus VCC, this is minus VCC, just I told, and this is not connected because we require only these 7 pins. Then this is little bit more detail you can see inside with the op-amp symbol. So this is the inverting input, this is non-inverting input, this is minus VE supply, this is plus VCC supply, and this is output terminal. These are the two offset null terminals. Now why these are used, we will come to know afterwards why these two are required, and this is not connected. So this is the pin diagram of the IC. Now as you know, we have seen in case of complex circuits, we can represent them in a simplified form by using the equivalent circuit. Specifically, we have studied the Thevenin's theorem. So Thevenin's theorem states that any complicated electronic circuit can be represented in the simplified form either as a voltage source or current source. So as op-amp is an voltage amplifier. So we represent this op amp in the form of the equivalent circuit, which is a simplified representation. Now in this case you can see, so here this input side is represented by the input resistance Ri between the two input terminals, inverting and non-inverting, and the output side we have the one voltage source. This is basically the Thevenin's equivalent voltage source, and a series resistance in series with that voltage source. This resistance we call it as output resistance, and the magnitude of this voltage source voltage is A into VID, where VID is the differential input voltage, which is equal to V1 minus V2. So this VID is the differential voltage, which is equal to this V1 minus V2. Okay. So this is connected to the ground. So this is the equivalent circuit of the op amp. So whenever we want to understand the working of any complicated op amp circuit, we can use this equivalent circuit, and by using this we can have the better understanding of the op amp circuit operation. Then next is the characteristics of this op amp. It is also known as transfer characteristics of the op amp, or it is also known as ideal voltage transfer curve, because op amp is voltage amplifier. So it transfers the voltage from input to the output, and while transferring it amplifies it. So that's why we call it as voltage transfer curve, or the transfer characteristics, which basically indicates how the input signal is transferred to the output by the op amp. Now in this case, basically as we have seen, see here the output is represented by this equation, VO is equal to A into VID. Okay. So here basically we understand that VO is directly proportional to VID input. Okay. And the proportionality constant is what? A. Okay. So this is the relationship between the output and the input, VO is equal to A into VID. So the mathematical representation of this equation, is basically nothing but the transfer characteristics. So in this case we have this VID on the x axis, so this is positive side, so this is plus VID, this is minus VID, and on the y axis we have the VO. Okay, on the y axis we have the VO. Okay. So obviously this is plus VO and this is minus VO. Okay. So in this case now, see, as we know, we have just seen VO is equal to A into VID. So obviously see, if the VID is positive, your VO is also going to be positive. So if your VID is positive, your VO is also going to be positive. And obviously in this case, when your VID is 0, your VO will be 0. So always this curve will begin with the origin. Okay. And as VID increases towards the positive side, your VO will also increase. But it will increase up to certain level, and when it reaches to this point, see, this is known as the saturation level. Once it reaches to this point, if you increase the VID, then it will not change, it will remain constant. Okay. So in this way, these are the characteristics when your VID is positive. When your VID is negative, obviously when the VID is negative, at that time your VO will also be negative. So in this case, when VID is negative and it is increasing on the negative side, your output will also increase on the negative side, and it increases up to this point. Okay. So this is the peak value. After that it doesn't change, and even though if VID increases, it will remain constant. So these are the characteristics. So always you can see here the output means of the op amp doesn't exceed beyond certain level, and that level we call it as saturation level. And remember, this plus Vsat, this is equal to plus Vcc this is equal to plus Vcc for the ideal op amp. Yeah, there is some problem with the pen. So this level is equal to plus VCC for ideal op amp, and always it is little less than plus VCC for practical op amp. Okay, and same is the case with this also. So here also on this side, this minus Vsat is always equal to minus VE for ideal op amp, and it is less than minus VE for practical op amp. Okay, and this is for ideal op amp. Okay, so these are the transfer characteristics of the op amp. They are very, very important. And in this case, you can see from up to this point output changes with respect to input, but after this it doesn't change, and on this side also up to this point it changes, after this it doesn't change. So from this point to this point, this is known as linear output or linear operating range of the op amp, and beyond this we call it as non-linear, because here the output is not proportional to the input. Now another important point in this case is what? If the op amp is operated in the linear range, linear output range, then in the circuit, then it is known as linear application of op amp. And all linear applications of op amp are basically related to the amplification applications. Whereas if the op amp is operated in the non-linear region, we call it as its non-linear application of the op amp, and those applications have some other purposes, like we can use op amp as a comparator, okay, or there are some other applications. So this is about the transfer characteristics. Now next we will see the very important point, that is which are the performance parameters of the op amp. Okay, so like for every system it has got certain performance parameters, or we can say characteristics. So what are the important characteristics of op amp? So in this case, the first characteristic is the large signal voltage gain, or open loop voltage gain, or differential voltage gain. So this is basically voltage gain of the op amp. It is known as large signal voltage gain because the gain is very, very high, and in this case when we apply the small signal at the input, we get large signal at the output. So we call it as a large signal voltage gain. Or it is known as differential voltage gain because this is the gain which we are getting where it is amplifying, or it is increasing the strength of the difference signal at the input, and then it is transferred to the output. So we call it as differential gain. Also it is known as open loop voltage gain because in this case the op amp is operating in the open loop. Open loop means what? Here in this case only we are applying input, we are getting the output, and here there is no connection between the input and the output. So the loop is not completed. So that's why we call it as open loop voltage gain. Now this, see how open loop voltage gain we can find out. So in this case we connect plus VCC minus VE to the op amp, we give input to inverting as well as non-inverting terminal. So our net input will be VID, and we will have this output. So the gain we can calculate, as you have studied, the gain is equal to what? Basically output upon input. So for this, the gain A will be equal to output voltage divided by differential input voltage. Okay, so the formula will be A is equal to VO upon VID. And obviously for the ideal amplifier, we expect that this gain A should be infinite, but practically it will not be, and practically we expect that it should be as high as possible. And for practical op amp 741, its value is 2 into 10 to the power 5. So that we will see at the end. I will give you all these values in the form of a table. Then the next is output voltage swing. Now already we have seen that our output voltage it swings between two levels, that is plus Vsat and minus Vsat. We have seen in the characteristics. Okay, so this output voltage swing, it has also got certain level. So basically in case of ideal op amp, this plus Vsat is equal to plus VCC, minus Vsat is equal to minus VE, and for the practical op amp it is a little less than this value. For example, for 741, this plus Vsat and minus Vsat, their magnitude is equal to 13 volt. So that is what basically what is the output voltage swing, that is the range of the output voltage between which it changes. Okay. Then next is the differential input resistance. Okay. So this is, we represent it as Ri ohms. Okay. So this differential input resistance is basically, you can simply call it as input resistance of op amp also, and it is measured between the one of the terminal, either inverting and or non-inverting, and the ground. So it is known as Ri. So this is represented here in this diagram. Either you can measure it from the inverting input terminal with respect to ground, or the between the non-inverting input terminal with respect to ground. Okay. So for op amp, this Ri should also be as high as possible. It is designed in that way, and ideally it should be infinite. So this is also very important parameter, because if your input resistance, if it is low, then your amplifier cannot amplify the input signal whatever you have given to it completely. Okay. So to get the proper amplification, your input resistance must be as high as possible. If it is low, then there will be loading effect and you will not get the intended gain. Suppose if your op amp has got a gain 10, if you apply the input of 1 volt, you expect that my output should be 10 volt. But if your Ri is low, then you will not get 10 volt, it will be less than that, and this is known as loading effect. So to avoid that, your Ri should be as high as possible. Then the next parameter is input bias current. Okay, input bias current. Now, what is this input bias current? Now you know that, see, this terminal, okay, this is what, this is the base of the transistor which is inside in the difference amplifier. Okay. So we have seen that. So this is the base of the transistor Q1, this is the base of the transistor Q2. Okay. Now see, when we are applying the bias supply plus VCC minus VE, at that time some biasing current flows through these two terminals. Okay, these two base terminals. Now see, what we have seen is that in case of op amp, its input resistance Ri is very high. So as Ri is very high, these input bias currents, their magnitude is very low. If you consider ideal op amp, then we know that Ri is infinite. Infinite means what? These two terminals are open. Okay, these two terminals are open. Okay, so when these two terminals are open, current cannot flow. So in that case, these both currents are 0. So in case of ideal op amp, these both the base currents are 0. Now what is input bias current? So IB1 is what? It is the bias current flowing through the non-inverting input terminal in ampere. IB2 is the bias current flowing through the inverting input terminal in amperes, and the base current is basically the average value of these two currents, IB1 plus IB2 by 2A. So this is known as the input bias current. So as just now I told, for the ideal op amp, this IB input bias current should be 0. For practical op amp, it should be as small as possible. Then the next is the input offset current. Now input offset current is what? Now basically, see, we have seen that both the transistors Q1 and Q2, okay, while choosing, we choose them as identical one. Okay, but the problem is that the practical limitation is that Q1 and Q2 cannot be same. Okay, although we choose the same transistor manufactured by the same manufacturer from the same batch, but you can't have the two transistors having exactly same characteristics. Now because of that, what happens is that, see, if both are same, then obviously this IB1 and IB2 both will be same. Okay, but as these two are not same, there is some little difference between the characteristics of these two. So there is some small offset in the characteristics of these two. So because of that, IB1 and IB2 will not be matching, they have some offset, they will be different. Okay, so how much they are different, that is basically represented by this input offset current. So input offset current is what? It is basically the difference between IB1 and IB2. It is the magnitude difference between the IB1 and IB2 in ampere. So this input offset current is represented by IIO, that is I for input and O for offset, that is input offset current, and it is given by the mathematical formula IB1 minus IB2, mod of IB1 minus IB2. And obviously for ideal op amp it should be 0, for practical op amp it should be as small as possible. Then next is the input offset voltage. Now what is input offset voltage? See, in case of op amp, suppose if I connect inverting input terminal as well as non-inverting input terminal to the ground, okay, so if I connect like that, then in that case means my V2 is 0, V1 is 0. So in that case my output voltage should also be equal to 0, because we know that VO is equal to A into VID. Okay, so here VID will be what? VID is equal to V1 minus V2. So both are 0, 0 minus 0 is 0. So my VOO should be, in this case, what I expect is that this should be 0. Okay, but it doesn't happen so. Okay, it doesn't happen so. Now why it doesn't happen so? Although I have applied input 0, but still it doesn't happen so. Now why this doesn't happen? Because my both transistors are not exactly same. So because of that, the potential at the collector of Q1 and potential at the collector of Q2 will not be same. Because of that you will have some, so this is not true. Okay, so we will have some output offset voltage, which we call it as VOO, that is output offset voltage. Now, but this leads to the error in the output, because when the no input is applied, output should be 0. So this leads to error. So to avoid this error, we have to make this output offset voltage 0. So we have to make this output offset voltage 0. Now how to make that? So if suppose I am getting some positive output offset voltage, so what I have to do is I have to apply some negative input voltage in such a way that, for example, just for example, you can see if my output offset voltage, okay, if my output offset voltage is 1 volt, okay, and let us, for example, the gain of my amplifier is 10, for example. So in that case, what I need to do is I need to apply input here, which is equal to minus 0.1 volt. So if I apply this minus 0.1 volt, then what will happen is that I have initially 1 volt at the output. If I apply minus 0.1 volt at the input, my gain is 10. So I will have minus 1 volt voltage at the output, and their algebraic sum will be what? 0. So in this way I will make my output offset voltage equal to 0. And in this case, this input which I am applying, that is minus 0.1 volt, this is known as input offset voltage, that is VIO. Okay, so VIO is what? Is equal to VDC1 minus VDC2. See, in this case, now to get this difference voltage equal to minus 1 volt, either I can apply the input to only one terminal, or I can apply input to both the terminals. So that is up to me. So in general, I have shown here the input is applied to both the terminals, and in this case what is done is that their values are adjusted in such a way that the difference VID is equal to that required voltage, which will make output offset voltage 0. So input offset voltage is what? It is the input voltage which is applied at the input terminals of the op amp to make output offset voltage equal to 0. And for ideal op amp, your input offset voltage should be equal to 0. For practical op amp, it should be as less as possible. Then the next parameter is common mode rejection ratio. It is abbreviated as CMRR. So it is very important parameter, and this parameter indicates the ability of the op amp to reject common mode signal. Now see, why this common mode signal is to be rejected? Because in case of most of the electronic circuits, when we are sending the information from one location to other location, it gets interfered by the noise. So at the other location, if you want to remove this noise, then this op amp acts as a very important device. So in that case, basically this noise signal is a common mode signal. So by using op-amp, what we can do, we can reject this common mode signal and we can just amplify the difference mode signal, so that we can remove the noise which is unwanted signal. So this common mode rejection ratio indicates the ability of the op-amp to reject the common mode signal, and if this ability is better, it means the noise rejection capability of the op-amp is better. Okay, so in this case, this CMRR is basically found by using this mathematical relation. As you can see here, this is equal to AD by ACM, where AD is what? It is known as difference mode gain. Okay, AD is difference mode gain, and we have represented it as equal to A. So to differentiate it from common mode gain, we have represented it as AD. So this is equal to A, that is the large signal voltage gain. Okay, and ACM is what? It is the common mode voltage gain. Now common mode means what? It's represented here. See, if we apply the same signal to both the input terminals, then it is known as common mode signal. So this is a VCM, that is common mode input voltage, and this is the common mode output. Okay, now in this case, actually, as you can see, in case of op-amp, if I am applying same input to both the terminals, output should be 0, but it doesn't happen, and you get some output. So by taking this output, you can find out what is the common mode gain of the op-amp. So ACM is equal to VOCM divided by VCM. So you can find the common mode gain, and once you get this common mode gain, you know what is the difference mode gain, you have the common mode gain, you can find out CMRR. Now this CMRR is represented in, normally it is represented in decibels. Its value is too high, so it is represented in decibels, and the formula for that is CMRR is equal to 20 log to the base 10 AD by ACM, and the unit is dB. Now in this case, you can see, in case of common mode operation, as just I told you, if the op-amp is ideal one, VOCM will be 0, so your ACM will be 0. If your ACM is 0, your CMRR will be infinite. It means for ideal op-amp, your CMRR should be infinity. For practical op-amp, it should be as high as possible. Then the next parameter is the supply voltage rejection ratio or power supply rejection ratio. Supply voltage rejection ratio is abbreviated as SVRR, or power supply rejection ratio, which is abbreviated as PSRR, or it is also known as power supply sensitivity, that is PSS. Now this parameter basically indicates how much the input offset voltage of the op-amp is sensitive to the power supply fluctuations, because normally what we do is, when we are using op-amp, in the beginning itself we will apply the input offset voltage, so that output offset voltage will become 0, and once this is done, then we can use that op-amp for the further application. Now see, to make this output offset voltage 0 and to apply the input offset voltage, in the op-amp 741 we have the arrangement, and that arrangement is provided by negative offset null input and positive offset null input. Those two pins we have seen, that is pin number 1 and pin number 5. So those pins are provided for that. It's an internal arrangement which is provided with 741. Now see, this VIO, once it is applied, and then once we start using op-amp, we expect that under any condition this VIO should not change, or output offset voltage should remain 0, but it doesn't happen so. And if your power supply fluctuates, then your input offset voltage also fluctuates, which leads to error in the output. So how much your op-amp's input offset voltage is sensitive to the power supply fluctuations is given by this particular parameter, SVRR or PSRR or PSS, and it is expressed as the ratio of the change in the input offset voltage with respect to the change in the power supply, and its formula is delta VIO divided by delta V, and it's represented in the unit microvolt per volt. Okay. So obviously what we expect is that for the good op-amp, for the ideal op-amp, this change in the offset voltage should be 0 volt. So if it is 0, your SVRR or PSRR or PSS should be 0. Okay, means for ideal op-amp it should be 0, for practical op-amp it should be as small as possible. Then the next performance parameter is the output resistance, which is another very important parameter, and we represent it as RO. So, this output resistance is basically the resistance measured between the output terminal and the ground when that output voltage source, that is A into VID, is short circuited. So, that is known as the output resistance. And for any good voltage amplifier, this RO should be as less as possible. So, in op-amp also it is designed in such a way that its output resistance is very small. For ideal op-amp it should be 0, and for practical op-amp it should be as small as possible. Then next is the slew rate. Now, this is another very important parameter, slew rate. It basically it gives the information about how the output of the op-amp changes with respect to time, the rate of change of output voltage with respect to time. So, specifically when we are using op-amp for AC applications where our signal amplitude is continuously changing, so there this parameter is very important, and the output voltage should change very fast with respect to the time. That is what we expect. So, at what rate it changes, that is basically given by this particular parameter for a particular op-amp. So, slew rate is defined as the maximum rate of change of output voltage with respect to time, and the same is given here in the mathematical expression, and its unit is volts per microsecond, that is the slew rate. Then the last parameter is the gain bandwidth product or the unity gain bandwidth. Now, see, for any amplifier, the product of its gain and bandwidth is always constant, and normally for the op-amp in the data sheets, this UGB, that is unity gain bandwidth, is specified, and this basically this parameter indicates when the gain of the op-amp is unity, how much is its bandwidth. Okay. So, next important point is you may have, because you know the gain but you do not know the bandwidth. Now, bandwidth means what? As its name itself indicates, it is the width of the band. Now, which band? It is basically frequency band. So, this is again the AC parameter, and here bandwidth means the range of the frequency which your op-amp can amplify. So, that is known as bandwidth. Okay. So, again means here also what we expect is that your gain bandwidth should be as high as possible. For ideal op-amp it should be infinite, for practical op-amp it should be as high as possible. Even bandwidth also we know that for ideal op-amp there should not be any boundary or the limit, it should be infinite. For practical op-amp it should be as wide as possible. Next is we will see what are the values of all these parameters for the ideal op-amp and for the practical op-amp as well as for the op-amp 741. Now, just we have seen, we will have the recap also. So, our first parameter is the large signal voltage gain or differential voltage gain or open loop voltage gain, which we represent as A or AD, we have seen. So, for ideal op-amp it should be infinite, for practical op-amp it should be as high as possible, and for 741 it is 2 into 10 to the power 5. As far as this output voltage swing is concerned, so for ideal op-amp it should be between plus VCC and minus VE, and for 741 its magnitude is plus minus 13 volt. As far as input resistance is concerned, we have already seen for ideal op-amp it should be infinite, for practical op-amp it should be as high as possible, for 741 it is 2 mega ohms. As far as input bias current is concerned, for ideal op-amp it should be 0 ampere, as we have already seen. For practical op-amp it should be as small as possible, for 741 its typical value is 80 nanoampere. As far as input offset current is concerned, for ideal op-amp it should be 0, practically it should be as small as possible, and for 741 its magnitude is 20 nanoampere. As far as input offset voltage is concerned, for ideal op-amp it should be 0, for 741 its typical value is 1 millivolt. As far as CMRR is concerned, for ideal op-amp it should be infinite dB, for 741 it is 90 dB. Our SVRR for ideal op-amp, as just I told you, it should be 0 microvolt per volt, For this 741, it is 30 microvolt per volt. Then next is output resistance. For ideal op amp, it should be 0. For practical op amp, it should be as small as possible. For 741, it is 75 ohms. Then slew rate. For ideal op amp, it should be infinite, and for 741, it is 0.5 volt per microsecond. As far as gain bandwidth product is concerned, it should be infinite for the ideal op amp, and for 741, it is 1 megahertz. So these are the different performance parameters of the op amp, that is their typical values for the 741 op amp. So these parameters are very, very important when we want to choose the op amp for a specific application. So here we will stop. I hope all of you have got these various performance parameters of the op amp and what is their importance. Now based on this information, now we will see how we can use this op amp in the actual practical application. So in the next class we will see the applications of op amp. So when we use op amp, we can use it in various configurations. So those things we will discuss in the next class. Till then we will stop here. Thank you.